Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 163 of the I Rock Knits podcast. Today, I have a guest, and this is Sam Haroldson Furst, and she is the yarn dyer behind Lavender Lune Yarn Co. here in Minnesota. And I'm so excited to have Sam here today because she and I are going to be some featured guests at the Up North Fiber Retreat that's happening in January in Bemidji, Minnesota. Now, that retreat is being put on by the ladies at Knitting Up North, the podcast, Jen and Karina, and they have a wait list because the event is full. But I just want to get that up there up front, that if you want to put your name on their waiting list, that would be something you could do. And Sam's going to do a little session up there, and I'm going to do a little session, and we're having a knit along. And so I wanted to have Sam on the podcast so we could talk about May's shawl and her lovely yarn a bit before that event happens. And everybody, even if you're not going to the fiber retreat, everybody's welcome to join the knit along and get some of Sam's lovely yarn. So welcome, Sam.
Hello.
I'm so glad we finally connected. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like just, where you're at, Minnesota, a little bit about your family and your farm. You want to start with that?
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. So I am just north of Brainerd. I'm in like the Brainerd Lakes area. I'm about 20 minutes north in Pequot Lakes. A lot of people know that as kind of like where they come in the summer to vacation.
Yep.
We were previously in Pine River, but now we're officially in Pequot Lakes because we moved to our farm, which was actually 2 years ago yesterday is when we moved into this new house. It's been
wow.
2 years already. It's a little wild to think that it's gone fast. So we live now out at the end of a road. It was a minimum maintenance road, so like it was not passable in the wet season, in the winter, but that's all been fixed. So we're at the very end of a road. We have 40 acres.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But did you have to fix it?
No.
The road? Like, did you have? Oh.
No, the township. Yeah. Once because there actually was a family that moved in just next door, kind of too. So there's two families up here now. So the township, like legally for emergency services and things like that, needed to create a passable road. So that was one thing we did. We did have to pay for electricity to get out here, though.
Oh.
That was huge.
You're not that kind of homesteader.
No, not
like lantern.
Right. I didn't think I could, make a dye studio with the electricity I needed work on, like
over a fire.
Flame. Yes. So yeah, we live out here now. It's my husband. I've got 2 girls and 2 boys. The girls are almost 18. In 1 month, she'll be 18, and 16, 14, and 8 is what the ages they're at right now.
Wow.
Yeah, getting big really fast. But yeah, we live out here. We've got 4 horses and a mule, and I'm guessing around 35 sheep currently.
Yeah, because you had no sheep when you moved 2 years ago.
Right. Yep.
That was your plan.
Well, the initial plan was we needed space for the horses. So, but then people said to like help with, making sure that your soil stays healthy, and like pasture rotation and stuff like that, that actually cattle or sheep would be a good addition to the horses. Okay. So obviously that was like a no-brainer to go with the sheep at this point. So
because you were dyeing yarn before you moved, because you started dyeing yarn in 2017.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So that's the same year my first book came out, when I had started my business in like 2015, but that first couple of years took a little time to get. So we've kind of been in the business for about the same amount of time. Roughly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I was dyeing about 5 years before we moved, 5-ish years before we moved out here. So yeah, this was an opportunity for me to be able to, make an office space for myself and make like a dye studio space. The previous house, it was just all like in the basement. And then I didn't have like a real office either. So in terms of like, labeling and packaging and all that other non-dyeing stuff, I kind of was just doing it wherever I could find, the space in the
Yeah.
house. And so it was everywhere. So it's nice to kind of have my own space to go to now. And it's separate,
So
it's
you
still
built
attached.
you built the house, and then did you build
Yes.
a barn as well for the
Yeah,
horses, or like
yep.
a lean-to? What do you have?
Yeah, for the horses, we built basically it's kind of like a lean-to. It's not enclosed fully. It's three sides because we do get a lot of wind. So they definitely needed, shelter of some sort. So yeah, we've got the lean-to for them. Last summer was when we built the barn for the sheep because we did need more of like an actual enclosure. And then we actually have kind of a smaller like lean-to for the sheep as well. So it's kind of just that process of like,
Yeah.
adding things as you need them and as you can.
Yeah. So is your dye area in your office in the house, or did you have like a building right outside the house?
It is attached to the house, but I do have to walk out of the house through the garage to get to the studio.
Oh, okay.
When we were building it, the architect had asked, do you want a door like through the laundry room that would be like directly in there? And I said, no, I want it separate. I want to have to leave the house because I know things would just, filter back into the house. And I just kind of wanted that separation a little bit of, home and workspace.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and then I do hope to have like an open house. I'm kind of hoping, people have asked me for, a couple years already of like, are you going to have an open house? So, I keep thinking like, yes, like the fall and then the spring. And so I'm thinking this spring I'll do an open house, but then this way too, people can come in like directly from the outside
Yes.
into the space and not have to go through the house and things like that.
Sure. So you're a knitter and a crocheter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely more knitter these days. But yes, I can.
Yeah. So when did you learn to, because you learned to crochet? I just read on your website. I mean, so yes. I was like, well, I should have some knowledge of her background. That you started when your first one was born. You were kind of crocheting little things.
Yep. That's where Lavender Lune kind of started. It was my 13-year-old. Did I say 14? He'll be 14 soon. It was when he was a baby that I picked up crocheting. I had learned how to knit, when I was young, and that made sense, but crocheting never made sense. And my grandma was one of those that made those giant doilies with the really thin yarn and the little tiny hooks, and like that just never clicked in my head. But then when he was born, I just kind of decided to, pick it up. We had YouTube then, of course, which was so helpful. Apparently I'm a visual learner, so that was helpful. But yeah, then I started that business where I was making like crocheted like cowboy booties and hockey skates. It was really popular at that time to dress up your newborns for newborn photos in these things. So, and I did actually write a couple like crochet patterns in around that same time even. I've not written any knitting patterns, but there was some crochet items that I like needed as part of like my sets. So I made them. But yeah, so that was kind of where it started. I got into crocheting and then that, kind of took its turn. And then that was after we moved up here that I picked up knitting again. That was when I decided to really figure it out and do something bigger.
Okay. So when did you decide to start dyeing yarn?
Yep, I'm coming up on 8 years of dyeing yarn. So, 8.5 years ago was when I guess I decided to, that was just when everything all of a sudden came to me. All the, the indie dyers and all of what we're in now, really just showed up in my feed and on my YouTube, all of that. So, and I always liked tie-dyeing as a kid.
Oh, okay.
that just was something that I always looked forward to and I made time to do, and I'd love to do that. But yeah, so I just thought, I don't know, like maybe I'll just play around with it. Obviously, I've been, kind of a creative, artsy, craftsy person my whole life. So I just thought I would give it a try. And
did you take a class?
No.
Did you
No,
go to someone's studio and say, will you mentor me for a moment? Anything like that?
No,
or did you just start like with Kool-Aid in the microwave? Like, different people start different ways, right?
Right. No, I don't think I ever did Kool-Aid. I'm trying to think. I think I just sort of dove right in. I had come across.
You bought like some acid dye. No, you dyed with plants and stuff.
Yes, initially. Yep, initially I did do some of the natural dyeing. But we were like in such a forested, pine needly area at that time. So there was so much of like the tannins from the pine needles in our water and everything. So it just turned everything brown. Like I couldn't get the colors that we know are possible. And then
it could have been Brown Loon Yarn Company.
That's right. I would have maybe like with this Pantone Mocha Mousse thing, I might have really fit in really well with that, at that time.
What's your palette? It's browns.
It's browns. Tones of browns. Yeah. But then also at the same time too, that was when, superwash was super big, and it wasn't quite what I was wanting to knit with either at that moment. So that was kind of what pushed me. And I think it was just Nicole from Hugh Loco.
Yeah.
The only one that I could find that had any sort of like very basic ideas on like how to dye yarn.
Okay.
She had done some really basic videos a long time ago, and that was kind of where it started, I think, with just, kind of learning how to do it, really.
When you first started dyeing, did you think it would be a business because you'd already had some of the other business stuff, right? So you were kind of going to do that kind of on the side. You weren't just dabbling, probably, right? You dabbled, but you kind of had an intent, I assume.
A little bit. But I also like didn't, I don't know, like want to set myself up for failure or something either. So I just really in my head made it a thing of, I'm going to do this for fun. I'm going to do it because like I'm interested in using it. I'm going to do it for fun. I'm not going to worry about trying to sell it or get it out there in the world, because if it doesn't take, I don't want to be bummed or whatever that it didn't.
Yeah.
And that was the same time that I did start my midwife training too. So I did kind of have things that I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew you did that, but you could talk a bit about that. Just let people know.
Yep, that was something. So about the same time that I started dyeing yarn, I did start working as I was training to be like a home birth midwife. I was doing the apprenticeship route where you basically, just are working with a midwife and doing, all the things. A few years in, I did have to make a choice because they were both taking up a lot of time, and I just couldn't, with having the 4 kids, I couldn't do it all.
Yeah.
And at that point, obviously the yarn was making money and the midwife thing was not, because I was still in that phase of just learning.
Yeah.
So you're not making any money at that time. So I did kind of take a step back and just worked as her assistant for a few more years, which then I did get also paid to be, working as well.
Yeah.
But then I was trying to think, it's been 2 or 3 years that she moved to Washington State.
Yeah.
And that just kind of was the end of my midwife stuff for the time being.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've got, the time for it currently. I don't, the idea of getting up in the middle of the night in winter doesn't sound that
in northern Minnesota.
Yes. There was many.
Getting up in the middle of the night in winter in Texas would be a little different.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like there was many mornings where it was 25 or 30 below that I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. And
Yep.
And so but yeah, I just didn't really, there wasn't a lot of other opportunities around. I wasn't really finding my place. It's a very unique relationship that you grow, in that situation.
Yeah.
Um, it got to a point like where we could basically kind of like read each other's minds. Like I knew what she was needing, I knew what she was thinking.
Yep.
But that took, some years to create.
Yeah.
And so I just haven't really found that space
Yeah.
again. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's totally out of my life forever, but um right now it's not a part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your yarn and your yarn bases and some of your yarn colors. That would be great.
Sure.
You do semi-solids and variegated yarns and
Mm-hmm.
all the things. You've done speckles and you
Yep.
have you have a bunch of yarn bases.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a bit about those?
Okay. Yeah, like when we started, again, it was because superwash was so big and the speckled, highly variegated. So that was definitely where I had started. Um, I really, that's kind of where my heart is still. I love speckling. I love layering colors. But then like the last couple years, I think just with more of the shift of what people were wanting to use, kind of was what sent me into creating finally kind of like a semi-solid tonal
Mm-hmm.
collection. So that's kind of where I say like I've been sitting for the last couple years now, is kind of in that space.
Yeah.
But of course, like this time of year, you always start thinking to 2025, and I'm already like, maybe I should go back to some more variegateds next year. I haven't created a lot recently, so maybe it's time to. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just see how the wind blows me. But so yeah, I kind of do it all. I love doing it all. I have really shifted to a lot of like non-superwash bases. I
Yep.
think with the addition of the sheep, um, I've got Shetland, but they are fine fleeced Shetlands. So when people hear Shetland, I've had people say to me, "Oh, I can't do that," and I was like, "Why?" Like, it's like it's too scratchy. It's not, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel that great. And I'm like, okay, so you're thinking of a certain brand
Yep.
that is not that nice. But these fine fleeced are really nice. They are, micron counts in terms of like softness is similar-ish to your merino or your cormo or your Ramboillet. Um,
So
yes,
you have to educate. You have to educate.
that's exactly right. Yep. Yep. So
Yeah.
when I hear people say that, and that's why a lot of times, like in my, promotional stuff, I'll always say that they're fine fleece Shetlands because there is a difference. And they are also, I am now breeding, there's a standard that was made in 1927 of like what, a Shetland is supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like and yada yada. Because there definitely is some out there, and I even have a couple of them that don't have the same kind of fleeces and things like that. So yeah, I'm like I make a point of that, and I educate people on that, and until you kind of start getting interested in sheep breeds and like what's different, about all of them,
Yeah.
um, yeah, you're just kind of like, okay, that's cool, whatever. Like that you might not take in that information. I did actually
Yeah.
grab a skein. So like right now, like I've got this in. Um, this is just an undyed. This is a natural Shetland. I only have 9 skeins of this left for now. This is from this year's clip that we
Yep.
did in the spring.
Yep.
Um, which I actually all the Shetlands I hand clipped this year.
Oh my gosh. I
I
didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know because we've got more, coming in next spring. I don't know if I'll do them all again. Um, but they have again, they're kind of a unique. There's a point in their fleece where like last year's growth will stop and
Mm-hmm.
the new growth will start, and it's kind of a line that you can see, and that's where you want to clip Shetlands, is when that rise is what they call it happens. So it does make it actually really easy to just hand clip them.
Are they patient about being hand clipped? Like,
yes and no.
Okay.
It depends, on the sheep, really. I mean, some of them,
no, I'm sure.
Yeah. Some it's like, oh, we've done this before, like I'm fine. Some of the younger ones are a little more, but obviously, like for me too, it's like after a half hour of this, we're all done. Like I'm done, you're done. Let's just be done.
Yeah. Are the kids interested in learning how to clip?
Yeah, it depends on the kid. So Nora, my oldest, did help me with the clipping of the sheep this year.
Yeah.
She was really good at it. So she very quickly signed herself up to be help there.
Yeah.
In terms of like, caring for the sheep, it's definitely more my 14-year-old son that seems to be most interested in the sheep. The girls, because they do such a good job with the horses, I just let them take care of the horses because I don't have to do anything with the horses. So I figure you take care of the horses, hopefully, the boys then can kind of help with the sheep. So they definitely do.
And they compete on the horses.
Yes, they do. We do like 4-H is kind of our bigger thing.
Yeah.
I know we would always like to do more with the horses, but I mean, as you know, being a horse mom, there's always, there's lots.
I was a horse mom to one, Sam. And it was a lot.
Yes.
So, it was a lot of, we weren't living with our horses. So it was a lot of driving and sitting in my car, knitting and listening to audiobooks while she rode for 3 hours every day. Right. Because I had to drive for, sometimes she was close. Many times it was far away. There was no option for me to go back home and then go back. Right. So, and then we competed, and that would be a whole weekend, once a month, entire weekend, bringing the horse, loading up the horse. I mean, we were part of a community of people that went together, but there were many times where there were no Eichelberger vacations because the horse shows were what we were doing. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I know she would, like to be able to do more,
it's expensive.
It is. It's expensive.
I mean, the whole thing. Like, hey.
Yes.
Don't even get my husband started on hay. So,
and sometimes, what she thinks.
We loved doing it. Horses.
Of course.
Right.
Yes, of course. It's one of my favorite things to do. But, sometimes like what she wants to do and what maybe her horse can do are, different things too. Like, her interests have changed. Like she's kind of been thinking about, reining. I mean, she does 4-H stuff, but then also, I think her horse really wants to be more of like a hunt seat English horse.
Yeah.
He's not a gaming horse.
Because I get that, because Kyle was a reiner and we went through 3 horses in her time because she got better and the horse needed to get better. And has she reined before?
No, she hasn't. It's just one of those.
She should come down and stay with me sometime and go down to Nettie, who trained Kylie. She's 20 miles south of me. She could stay and she could go down for a few days and rein on the horse down there. I mean, honestly, I can edit this part out, but I'm being honest. I mean, Kylie's not here. We have a house with a bunch of bedrooms upstairs and no one lives here but the 2 of us. And, and so it wouldn't cost her. And then she could contact Nettie and I'll give you that information. And nicest lady, nicest farm. Cool. And it's just 20 miles south of us. And then she could come for summer or weekend or we could set it up. Yeah, be fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Because she could try it then. That's what we did.
Yes.
We met someone. They're like, would you like to try it? She tried it for a number of lessons and then she's like, yep, this is for me. Yeah. And that was, and we were renting a horse, just to, for a while until, So, but if she's interested in it, that's an amazing community. Kylie learned so much, and horses can
Yeah.
teach much, and which you understand, but
Yep.
Yep. That's really cool. Okay, let's talk a bit about your yarn bases. Let's go back to, you've got fingering, DK, bulky. You do a lot of kits. You do a lot of sock kits. You've got several going on right now. I wrote them down because you've got the Woodline skies, the snow flurry, the springtime in Paris, all up on your website. So you've got some sets, subscriptions. What do you call them?
Yeah. They're all actually, that's one of each of everything kind of. I do subscription clubs. I've done those for a couple years. I have that's been kind of a learning process. I have learned, the best way to handle those and work with those. So the ones that I had previously have now ended as of this month. But then we will be starting some new ones. So just options for people. I do have like sock sets. I always like to get into like DK sock sets as an option.
Yes.
So I've got one that I just started taking pictures because we are kind of in the middle of a field. We've got, a tree line all around us, but it is kind of bigger and open for the pasture. But the skies, like when the sun sets at night, or, in the morning too, like it's just, I go out there and I just stand and I just look at it because it's so many colors. And some days it's like bright magenta, which I'm like thinking, how can the sky be that color? But it is.
Yep.
So that's kind of my inspiration for that one. And then I am doing one, also a subscription club based on a band, which is kind of, I think that's going to be kind of a smaller group of people, but
people that have that niche.
That's right. Yes. And it's for me, it's going to be like the really fun experimental club where you get to pick like your weight of yarn, but your base is going to be different. So like there's going to be sparkle, there's going to be, superwash, non-superwash, tweed, depending on what the colorway is calling to me.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of like a nice grab bag. They're all going to be variegated and fun colors. And so I do that. But yes, of course, like, work with designers, such as you and others that, we, create various things. The current thing is the sock set, which was actually a part of my holiday box.
Yeah.
This year. So Lindsay Fowler had designed the sock pattern. And then, of course, like everyone that got the box will get the pattern included with the box sock sets. But of course, it's important for the designers to also open it up to everyone else as well. So I don't like to do anything that's like exclusive because I want to make sure that you guys can get whatever you can. So I got some sock sets in there. I have started dyeing actual like spinning fiber, which has been really fun. I've taken like some of my older variegated colorways and sort of interpreted them onto fiber and spinning fiber. So, it's a whole different thing. I love to see, it's a surprise as to how they turn out, which is part of the fun for me. I love surprises. So I like surprises. So that's really fun. So that's kind of where I've added in the spinning box. I did one that I'm working on right now that will be like a New Year's kind of box opening thing. But then I decided that it would probably be really nice to do like a quarterly, themed kind of spinning box. And then they'll each have some extra items in there that correspond. So, that's kind of some of the things that are in there now. I do have, I'm trying to think of what I got around me. I've got a new worsted base coming out this week.
Oh.
Yeah. This one I am actually named this one something a little more extravagant than like fluffy worsted. I try to just keep my base names kind of simple.
Yeah. It's hard as a consumer, it's hard to keep up with all the fancy base names.
Yes.
It is. I appreciate a good, this is DK.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, to just be like, this is just like a merino DK or
or sparkle DK.
Yeah, yes,
or
exactly.
whatever.
Yep. So this one I'm calling flocculent because flocculent means either looking like tufts of wool or having tufts of wool.
That's cute.
Yeah. And this is very, very much that. So this is one of those where there is a cotton core and then the wool, the merino wool is blown into it.
Okay, blown yarn. Yep. Okay.
Yep. So
can you hold it up a little closer?
Yeah.
Yeah, just so people can see the edges of the fluff a little. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So I've been working on it's a new Caitlin Hunter pattern that's coming out this week on it. I think she had some like wool folk that she had started her sweater in, but it's not available anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I had emailed her and said, I have something that might also work for that. So
yeah.
So
it's nice a little bit to know that behind the scenes process of how you find out about people coming out with new designs, or people I contact you, you contact me. How does that work for you with working with designers?
Yeah. I mean, I always feel like it never hurts to ask, because at the worst, they're just going to say no. And okay, so, you move on. And I mean, that was kind of how I got connected, like with Caitlin years ago. I keep kind of bugging her to like actually use one of my yarns. But she hasn't given in yet. So this I thought was a good thing. This was close.
It's hard to get your foot in the door with the big people. Like I feel the same way, right? Like you can reach out, but with the people who would really lift you up, right? Like could elevate you to like a much bigger level, right? But it's hard when they're already working with brands that are also large. And I'm like, we're the little people down here. We're just a little bit. Could you look down? Just look down for a minute.
Yes, that's what I always feel like. Like if one of the big people were to help in some little way, like just how much that would help us that are kind of on this second level,
exactly.
Like just that little bit would be so helpful to us.
So you reached out to her years ago?
I did. Yeah. And I think I had just done the usual. I mean, this is a thing that anyone, even baby dyers can do too, of like, if just send an email and let them know, like, you'd be happy to provide yarn support if anything. I definitely like when designers maybe have something in their head and then they come to me and they say, I have this, I think it would be great. I mean, that actually happened this morning with Brienne Moody. She because we're thinking about sweater camp coming up too. And she just texted this morning and said, I have something. I love that, because then, I don't like to give designers really any parameters, because you guys, that's what you do. Like, I don't want to like put you in a box, because if people put me in a box, it kind of can become hard to be creative.
No, it's really hard. If they ask and then they say, it happened to me last year, we want a small shawl. Right. And it was just like, then you're just like, okay, how am I going to make this work? What ideas do I have? Because that wasn't the wavelength I was on in the moment. Right. It was, other things. Exactly. So I get it.
I mean, I've had with like other designers too, like sometimes I've given a little more parameters because of like maybe like a holiday box or something like that. And like, I can just tell like they're struggling. And I'll just be like, it's okay. Like, don't force it. If it's not coming to you, it's just maybe not meant to be. And that's okay. We can just, wait for the next thing. So, but that was kind of what I did with Caitlin. And she's always been like really nice and kind to me and responds to me. I run into
I've had really good luck with just reaching out to yarn dyers too, and them just saying, yeah, sure, let me know what you need, and tell me what your, what your plan is going forward. People in the industry are pretty good about supporting. I'm not trying to say they're not supportive, because
I didn't.
It's just a tough business. We're all working hard out here, and
that's right,
to be seen, and with whatever 8 million new patterns on Ravelry, and yarn coming out, everybody's designing, and everybody's trying to dye yarn. Everybody wants to be in the industry, know. I agree. Does your husband, is he a part of your business in any way?
He's in the business in terms of like my website.
Okay.
That's he was a teacher for a number of years, but now works for the school district as their technology coordinator.
Okay.
So that's kind of more of his wheelhouse. So he's kind of the one.
And what district?
Right now, where he's been is the Pine River school district.
Okay. Yeah.
When we moved up here,
I wondered, because of the move. I wondered. That's the only reason I asked. I was just like, does he have to drive back to where you kind of lived before?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we were very close before to the school. And so now it's like maybe a 15-minute, but it's just back roads, and it's not a big deal.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what stuck in my head, is you had the move. Okay. Do you have some other yarn to show us? Anything?
The Yak DK, which is what our shawl.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Let's talk about that. So May's shawl. Yep. And I designed this with Sam's yarn, and it is the Yak, and it is the just loveliest hand. It just has the loveliest. There's some drapiness, but yet it's got some stability to it, and it has this braid along the top. So if you wear it like this, you're going to get that kind of cowl effect, and then that comes all the way down the edge, and then it's just stockinette going back and forth, and then you pick up and make, or I can take it off, pick up and make the bottom edge.
I love that.
And then it just
slide border. Yeah.
And then you just make the ribbing when you're done, and then you can do a tassel or knot or little pom pom on the end. Some lady put like a what would it be, like ribbon, kind of like a ribbon tassel, like a silk ribbon, tassel, just a couple of them hanging off the end. I like a tassel because it weights it, but some people hate tassels, right? They just would never. So you're knitting from end to end. Super simple pattern, I do a lot of patterns for advanced beginners. And then the center point here has the little cable right at the point again, so that when it sits down, so that's the only part that you have to set up, in that when you pick up your stitches, just find the center of the V, and that's not hard. It goes down to a point, so you can kind of see it. It's not too difficult. But so this is the shawl that we are knitting for the retreat, but we're having a knit along, and we're going to have prizes that are going to be given away on what is the day, like the 17th of January. So you absolutely have time to knit this, because it works up fairly quickly. It's 2 skeins of Sam's DK. And I did have a friend, my friend Bonnie, who got in touch, and she was like, I am going to run out of yarn. And I said, wow, you shouldn't run out of yarn. And I said, did you do a gauge swatch? And she's like, no, it's a shawl. And I said, well, yep, shawls you don't need to fit a shawl, but if your gauge is off, you will not have enough yarn. And she's like, why did I never think of that? Right? Like, how did I? So I went out in the group and said, hey folks, right? I used all of 2 skeins, right? Like you have to kind of know, and you could weigh your skeins ahead of time. If you didn't want to do a gauge swatch, you could weigh your skeins and then figure out how much you've knit, to know where their halfway point is, when you could start decreasing instead of following the number of rows that I did. but
right.
her gauge was so off, she had to go down 2 needle sizes.
Oh, really?
And so she had to rip back. And I thought, the gauge is on the pattern, but I know people often don't do gauge swatches for shawls. So then I went back in, updated the pattern with the number of grams you need to do the ribbing, and updated the pattern, because with all these people doing the knit along, I felt so, and it was only one person, but I thought, if she did it, she's a good knitter. Someone else absolutely would totally be doing that and get to the end and be like, I don't have enough yarn, and now I need a whole nother skein for, which is just a bummer, right?
It is. So, I hate
that.
Actually.
Note to the wise that if you don't get gauge on any project, you're going to use more yarn, significantly more yarn. And so, her gauge was just way different than mine. So, but it does only take 2 skeins of DK if you knit it at my gauge. I just felt, kind of felt bad, especially when people have to rip back. But that's the and she's she would never have probably told me. We were just talking, and and she probably would never have said, hey, I had to buy gain on your silly pattern that didn't work for me. But then when we talked about it, she was like, oh, it didn't even dawn on me that my stitches are way bigger and looser, which some people would really like. This is plenty loose, but you may think, oh, it could be more open. So, if you knit loosely. So you have, how many colorways do you have of the Yak DK roughly?
Man,
I think when I first looked, I don't know, you had 8 or 10 probably.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those, like, I can dye pretty much any of your
colorways
on it. Yeah. It's just more of a matter of like getting things dyed and getting pictures to be able to show people. But it's probably around maybe 10 to 15.
Yeah. And there's some available on your website right now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because we have been having the knit along. People have been joining and knitting, and I had another person say, this is moving along so quickly, because you start down here, right?
Yes.
So it's only this wide. So it is, the first part goes super quick. And then once you get halfway, you're decreasing back down. So you never have those super long, which I hate on a shawl, when you have 800 stitches and you're going across, and then it's got a lot of texture in it or something, and you make an error and you have to go back 400 stitches to fix it. Like, that's just not, and that's so frustrating for like my newer knitters. And it is a checklist pattern if you're new here, because I know some of you they'll come to watch you and they won't know. I write all my patterns as checklists, which means that every row is written out, so that if you set your knitting down and you come back to it 2 months later, you already have a checklist. You don't have to have an additional Post-it note where you're keeping track of your rows. That goes flying off your paper at some point. You don't know. I only really do that because I have so many kind of advanced beginners who can't read their knitting. When they pick something back up, they don't absolutely know where they left off, if they were on, row 36 or row 39, whatever. And so I just write it all out. Some of the checklists are all at the back of the pattern, but some of the checklists are right within the pattern. Depends on how many rows you have to knit, but we'll put 64 check boxes if that's how many you have to do. So you print that out, and then and you don't have to make 64 little boxes on it. It does mean that you are printing more paper, and it does take my tech editor a lot more time to lay it out for me. But for people who like that, and there are really good knitters who are like, why is this such a long pattern, and why do I have to have all this? But it works for the people who follow me and want that kind of checklist pattern. And I often do checklist when I'm a pattern. Like, I often will write down, you need to do 9 rows of this, and and keep track. So,
I think it's just like, it depends on like where your brain is at with what you're knitting. I mean, even the best, like, I am one of those that I'll start something and I'll put it down, and and I don't know if it's like I'm getting older or what, but I really know now, like, I need to keep track of that stuff, because I will forget.
It's so hard to go back
It
when you're like, why did I not make a note? Why did I just
Yes.
not circle it or whatever?
Something.
So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, no, I agree. So
Yep.
do you have favorite things that you like to knit? Do you have
Um,
time to knit? Do you get to knit? I
I
know you have a
do.
lot of samples.
Yes. Yes. Um I knit. I have to knit. I often will wake up in the morning and with my coffee knit a little bit. Definitely want to knit in the evening times. I need to knit at some point during the day. So yeah, I do get a decent amount of time. I have been really in a sweater knitting space.
That's my love. That's
uh,
right
for
now I
years
have
now. It's
three over in my nest that I'm working
yes,
on. Depending
yeah,
on my mood and my
yeah,
mental load.
yep, yep, yeah. And for me too, like I just plain stockinette gets boring for me. So I
Girlfriend.
high five. Like
I cannot abide garter and
yeah,
stockinette that goes on my brain. It's
yeah,
then it sits in my lap instead of up.
yep, yep,
I set it down because my brain just goes into like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I always have so many yolks, like because there's color work or something going on, and then like that rush is done, and then like a new pattern comes, and so then I just start a new yoke. So I, I have many a sweater that needs, body or sleeves or something.
I have a
Um,
couple ladies for you for that. You send them off and they'll do the stockinette.
I have heard, yes, I've got a friend who has said that she would finish sweaters for me.
Yeah,
And
because
I think I'm
if
really
all the
gonna,
numbers are already done and that's their jam, right?
yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
I'll say to sample knitter, okay, I designed this yoke, right? It's done,
Mhm.
but now I have to move on to another design.
Yeah.
Can you take the sleeves to the end or take the body to the end? And they're giddy. They're like, I don't have to do the figuring or the hard part. Like I don't like
Oh man.
for their payment of their time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm
But
gonna start to utilize that a little bit more than I
yeah.
have. Um, I did
Well,
just
and it's part of our business expense, right? Like
right.
you on designs and you have samples for your booth and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like, a lot of that too for me also is like starting a yoke. If I have a new yarn, I need to knit with it too. I need to know if I like it. Are people gonna like it? Um, so yeah, it's important just, as well for me to like get my hands in there and make sure it's doing what I think it's gonna do.
What are you
Um,
wearing today?
I am wearing tilt you down. I'm wearing
Okay.
Chalet days. It's
Lay days.
Chalet, like
Oh,
ski chalet.
yep, got it. Yep.
It's a Samantha Guerin pattern.
Okay.
It's a little bit of an older one, maybe a couple years. Um, but yeah, this was one, and I like low contrast color work sometimes. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
this is
No.
probably one of my like favorites that, fits like a real sweater, fits
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like an example of where I get through the color work and then I have more to do and it's not that fun for me.
Oh,
But I was gonna say
absolutely.
I did start my oldest did come to me a couple months ago with a sweater. She sends me a picture and says, "I need you to make me this." And then she says, "Well, if, it was out of stock, it was one that she could have bought, from
Oh,
a regular company, um, like a clothes store, but it was out of stock. But she wanted the sweater. So this is kind of the first time, like I actually went through and figured out charts, um, found kind of a pattern that I know is kind of the style that I can use as a base.
yep.
So
Yep.
I'm kind of like Frankensteining my first
Yeah.
sweater for her.
Design. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like a full color work, and
All
like
over. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and I picked it up the other day and started it. And now, of course, that's like what I want to knit on because color work for me too is really,
Oh,
I don't know, I just love
all
it.
over.
Yeah.
I have
And
a yoke in there, color work yoke in there with no body on it right now. We are the same person in this moment.
Yep.
Sure.
So I figure like that one, at least that'll make me, I'll probably get that one done quicker because the whole thing is more interesting in my brain than,
yeah, for
just
sure.
doing a yoke. So, but yeah, it's like, it's different. I don't, I've thought about like the pattern, but it is one of those where, it's like from another company has created it. So I don't want to like copy work.
Although, but if you have to redo all the numbers and all the charts, you can't make it match perfectly. I mean,
true.
there's no way.
Not gonna be the same
you could never make it. It would never. You couldn't make the same thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll get through it first and then see.
Sizing and all over color work.
Yeah, it just happened to work. The numbers just happened to work out. So I don't know, but you're right. Like to go up, a size.
Yeah, because you can't go up half a motif.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, you can, but you wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's But okay, do you have any other samples or yarns that are sitting there before we wrap it up? Yeah, show us some stuff.
Okay, I do have. This was one of my more recent ones that I got at the end of this year. It's actually in like a black.
Gosh!
I want all my knitting in black now.
Oh.
So this is the Springline tee from Samantha Guerin. It came out this summer. This was one that I had someone sample knit for me. I would have never finished it, but it does use my single ply linen, which is, it's mostly a merino with a little bit of linen. You can probably kind of see where the linen is.
Yeah.
More of like an effect, I feel like, in your knitting. But it also
has a raglan with.
It comes down from the shoulders with like
the
all
lace.
The way down,
okay.
And then it continues down with like the lace, the little lace pattern. It's really
got it. Okay.
It's so cute on. I'm obsessed with this one, and like I said, I want everything in black now. But that's like a for sure a base. I mean, right now this isn't like a super hot base, but in the summertime, with all the teas now and everything.
Yeah.
It's fantastic for that. Ooh, and this is out of my color.
Yeah. There we go.
I am not generally a pink person. I say I'm not, but I think I do love pink. It's just, it's gotta be the right tones, and I don't know, everything I want to dye is forms of pink. But I will tell you I don't like it. And
that is the Caitlin.
This is the Andrea Mowry for
Andrea Mowry's. What was it called?
Framed.
Yeah. They were all over Rhinebeck. All over. Yeah.
Yeah. And these, I used 2 new bases in this one too. I got a non-superwash merino Ramboillet blend. Really nice. Ramboillet is like my favorite sheep breed ultimately. But yeah, this is, and it's wearing really nice. It's got kind of a tighter twist to it. So I feel like it's not like a rustic yarn at all. It's very refined. So I've got a tweed version.
Okay.
This top, with the tweedy speckles, and then the pink, the bright pink, was just the regular
worsted.
Yeah, just the regular worsted.
Yeah.
So I've got worsted and DK in that, and that's just a really nice sweater yarn. That's a newer yarn too. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the most current. This was last year's Plant People.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, using the Yak DK. And it's just such a nice, and the Yak DK is also, it's a little bit of silk, a little bit of yak, and then it's a non-superwash merino. So it's another non-superwash base, but so soft. So soft. And
that's by Brienne.
Yep, that's by Brienne.
Let's give her credit. Brienne Moody. Yep. And she's a local designer from Northeast.
Yep.
Minnesota.
Excuse me.
And you had a one of my shawls on your desk, that other colorway.
Oh,
Did you hold up one?
I did a little bit.
I have the pink and the gold here, but you had the gray one, right?
Yes, I do. This one,
yeah.
The colorway name is Namesake, which
just so that people can kind of see it in another tone. Because sometimes it's hard for people to see my bright palette and be like, I could knit that, right? If they can see it in a different kind of palette, it can be helpful to them to kind of, So we had it is listed on Ravelry with the 3 different, we took pictures. So there are, you could see everybody's. Bonnie's doing hers in like your dark green. Yeah, foresty something color. And I think a couple other people picked that color too. Definitely.
Yes. Yep. I know there was like a dark blue. Someone actually had ordered even a variegated color of mine.
Oh, for sure. You could certainly do this in a variegated or a speckle and because it's just DK, and there's just this section of stockinette that could hold up to that pretty easily, I would think. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and because it is a non-superwash, then colors too are just a little softer.
Yep. Yeah,
and kind of blend a little more together.
Yeah.
But
do you have any new exciting things happening in 25? Like, are you where are you going to travel this winter? Are you at any events, or you have something you want to kind of shout out?
What is
where
happening?
People could see you or find you, or
what all is happening? I mean, I've been scheduling and thinking and planning a lot of things.
I know. Well, we're in Bemidji, and then we're at Sweater Camp, because I'll be at Sweater Camp too.
Yep. So that's both in January.
Yep.
March. What was in March? I am doing the Unwind Fiber Arts Retreat in Kansas City.
Okay.
That is going to be a pretty big one. Like, I think they're bringing in Amy from La Bien Amie.
Oh, yeah. I get their newsletter.
Yeah.
What weekend is that? Do you know? Is it beginning or middle or end?
Towards the beginning. It's maybe like the 9th or 10th.
Okay.
Of March. I think there is 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th maybe in there.
Okay.
Of March. And I think there is still like tickets available for the actual retreat.
Oh, okay.
But that's they kind of were doing a bigger one because the Hill Country Weavers retreat was not happening this year.
Yeah.
So they were kind of hoping to fill that void, I think, a little bit. So there's, it's at a hotel in Kansas City. It's a great yarn shop. I actually went down and did like a little weekend retreat with them. Not this last summer, but the summer before. They've been really, really great. So that's kind of a big one coming up. Hopefully we'll be back at YarnCon in Chicago in April. Okay. May is when my Iceland trip is.
Oh yeah, tell people about that. Yeah.
I just kind of joined up with Rowan Tree Travel. They've done knitting tours and excursions for I think 10 plus years, and we just kind of created a trip to Iceland, tours all over, kind of an all-inclusive sort of thing. So that'll be fun.
I know. I would have, if it wouldn't have been the wedding year, I would have been able to maybe snag on that. But Woo! Can I just say, however much you have saved for your kids for their wedding, it ain't even close. We had the smallest wedding with that we could. I mean, I know we're in the Twin Cities, but holy.
Yeah.
We fed 52 people. But we didn't feed 200.
No, you didn't. That's still way less than, a big one.
Yeah. It was crazy. I'm doing an event that I should tell you about. It's on March 2nd. It's here in the cities. It's at a brewery, and it's called Crafters Gonna Craft.
Yes, me too.
Are you doing that?
Yes.
Okay. We will be there. Maybe I should do
you again.
a design for that. I'm going to teach.
Good.
I'm going to teach a class. Maybe I should do something for you. And then, we could promote it, and I could tell everyone in my class, but they have to go buy your yarn to make the design that whatever I design I could wear. Yeah, because I would have time. Because I'm teaching between Bemidji and Sweater Camp. I'm teaching in Tempe, Arizona.
Really?
So I'm gonna go north cold, Arizona hot, north cold.
Yes.
I know. Well, we go every year to Arizona in January for the Barrett Jackson car show because my husband's a huge car guy. And I don't love sitting at the auction for 4 days. And so I always go over to Tempe Yarn. And so last year, and I go in, and there's a young gal in there. She follows me on Instagram. She's like, "You're on Rock Knits." And I said, "Yeah." So I got to talking with them, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm here. I come into your shop every year. You want me to teach a couple classes?" She's like, "Yes." So I'm going to go. I said to Ross, I have 3 weekends where I'm going to be like, unpacking, packing, unpacking for different climates.
Yeah.
But that'll be nice to be able to get to some sunshine and some warm weather in the midst of, I always think it's so strange to go down there and then there are oranges all over, where it's in Scottsdale,
Yeah.
So, just crazy that it can be like, blizzarding here. And you get down there and you're walking outside with no coat and all that. So that'll be fun. Okay. Yeah. And then are you, what was I gonna, Shepherd's Harvest? Will you be at Shepherd's Harvest, do you think, or no?
So this will be the first year that I won't, because that runs into my Iceland trip.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that weekend that we get back on Sunday, and that's that same weekend as Shepherd's Harvest.
Yeah. I'm thinking about going to H&H in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which is that first couple, I've never gone.
Right. I haven't either. That's
those first couple days right before Shepherd's Harvest. And I was like, oh, that'll be butted up against something. But anyway, Okay.
Well, I'm very curious to hear what you think of H&H.
Yeah, H&H. I know. People go, and I've just never gone. And I thought, well, maybe I should give it a go. I got in touch with the yarn store, where String Theory, where I've taught before. And I said, hey, I'm going to come to H&H. You want me to teach? Help you pay for my trip.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. I don't want to keep you any longer because we've gone over. But I want to thank you so much for your time. I know 4 kids, you've got the farm and a full-time business going on. So I just want to thank you for coming on with me. And you've been nothing but supportive of me and my little design business over here. So greatly appreciated. And everybody go over and check out lavenderluneyarnco.com. You can see all of her colorways and her clubs and all that. And then maybe we can all come up in the spring for an open house. That would be super fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Before our springs get too busy.
That's right.
Every weekend. You better put that on the calendar.
I know. I was thinking I probably should at least set a date to
if you want it to happen. Otherwise, someone will call you and you'll be like, well, there goes another year of not having a weekend open. I agree. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.